Roster Wars, welcome back to the final episode of the United Nations Rookie Summit. I'm your host, Corbin, joined as always with Ross and Tyler. I say as always, but Tyler is finally back after missing last week. Mouth is looking fine. He is a dental specimen. He's feeling good, and we're ready to talk about some running backs. How we doing, guys?
Better than last week.
I'm feeling good. This is the one everyone's tuning in for. So welcome our new audience that hasn't watched understandably and didn't tune in for the defensive tackles. But running backs. This is the one everyone wants. Not as good a class this year, maybe, but you still want to know who the guys are, who these guys you're going to be taking in the second, third round. I'm sure.
Yep, definitely. I mean, you got the one top end guy and then a bunch of guys that would maybe be running back 5 through 10 any other year. So definitely not the most talented running back class, but regardless, these are going to be some names that you'll need to know. You'll see these guys, some of these guys go late first, second round. Definitely should see some action in the third round. And there's a few that are, potentially pretty interesting here. Today we're going to be discussing Jeremiyah Love, Jadarian Price, Jonah Coleman, Emmett Johnson, and Mike Washington Jr. But I didn't forget, Tyler. He needs to go over last year's rankings and sleepers. So without further ado, take it away, good sir.
All right. Last year we did Ashton Genty, Umarian Hampton, Trevion Henderson, Caleb Johnson, and Quinshawn Judkins. The rankings we had, Ross had Genty, Hampton, Henderson, Johnson, Judkins. Corbin had Genty, Henderson, Hampton, Judkins, Johnson. And I had Genty, Henderson, Judkins, Hampton, and Johnson. So none of us were the same. We were all different on our ideas here.
Ross was the worst. Let it be known.
What's that?
I whiffed on Caleb Johnson. I didn't realise he was such a terrible football player, to be honest. He had a good skill set, but yeah.
There's still hope.
I don't think there is hope.
Ashton Genty played 17 games behind the worst offensive line in the league. He had 266 carries. Probably got hit behind the line on 200 of them. 55 catches, 1,321 total yards, and 10 total touchdowns. He had 2 fumbles, 1 for a loss. He was drafted round 1, number 6 overall by the Raiders. Hampton played 9 games, had 124 carries, 32 catches, 769 total yards, 5 total touchdowns, 1 fumble, didn't lose it. Drafted round 1, number 22 overall by the Chargers. The future Hall of Famer, Trevion Henderson, played 17 games, 180 carries, 35 catches, 1,132 yards, 10 touchdowns. He did have 1 fumble that he did lose. He was drafted round 2, 38th overall by the Patriots. Caleb Johnson, 10 games, 28 carries, 1 catch, 78 total yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 fumble, didn't lose it. Round 3, 83 overall by the Steelers.
And now Rico Dowdle's in town. He is irrelevant, worthless.
He did play most of the team. He had a lot more yards they had, but that was all special team yards.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that boosts him up for trade value, huh, Tyler?
Yeah. First round pick. Quinshawn Judkins, 14 games. One police charge. Or whatever. 130 carries, 26 catches, 998 total yards, 7 touchdowns, 0 fumbles. Drafted round 2, number 36 by the Browns. So I don't know. I mean, besides Johnson, I think they're all pretty even, right?
All 4 of them are very promising.
They all had their issues. Like Judkins had his what was it? Well, first he had a contract issue, right?
It was domestic violence, I think.
And then he had domestic violence, which led to a contract issue. Right. Yeah. So he dealt with that and then finally got to play. Hampton had both of his stud offensive linemen go down. And he also had injuries and only played 9 games.
It was good, though.
Poor Caleb Johnson just was hated by Mike Tomlin. So I hear Mike McCarthy loves him. And they brought in Dowdle as insurance for Johnson in case he gets injured. So
Johnson was on a returner the first couple of games. The first game he fumbled against the Jets, and the second game he had that one that went through his hands, and then the Seahawks recovered it for a touchdown. So he was just
I believe that lost the Steelers the game. That last one, yeah. But yeah, so I think they're all pretty comparable. I mean, I don't know. People might. I mean, except for Johnson, of course. Based upon rankings, I would say I definitely ranked best out of all of them because I had Genty, Henderson, and Judkins my top
every week. Every week, Tyler, you're ranking these guys the best every week.
Every week, something weird about that. Considering I don't know.
Are our rankings the same? I think I had Henderson too, and then
no, you had Genty, Henderson, and then Hampton, and then
Judkins. Yeah, I think that mine is spot on.
That was the difference between me and you, is I had Judkins ahead of Hampton. And because of injury.
I don't know. I like Hampton better now, especially going into this year. I mean, Judkins is nice. Like I would almost put Travion 4 because Ram Stevenson is still going to be taking touches. So for me, right now, I would say Genty, then probably Hampton, Judkins, Travion. But those 3 are super close. Obviously, you got to just wait and see what happens with the Raiders. But yeah, all 4 of those guys.
Henderson will be the number 1 running back in New England this year, not Stevenson. Okay. Stevenson's done. He's a piece of crap. He sucks. He gets injured every year, and it gets worse and worse every year. So
we'll see. Anyway, we shall see. What about those sleepers?
We will go to the sleepers now. Where I picked a true sleeper. I don't know what the hell you guys are thinking.
He's still sleeping, probably.
I'm kidding. So Ross picked Brashard Smith. Actually, he's a pretty good true sleeper. He played 17 games, 44 carries, 25 catches, 323 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 fumble, didn't lose it. But he was drafted in round 7, 228th overall by the Chiefs. So I guess you could call that a true sleeper, because he did play all the games, even though his dropped so late.
I'm happy with
that. Corbin took a guy named Cam Scadaboo. And I'm pretty none of us had heard about this guy.
True sleeper at the time.
Before the draft, the guy came out of nowhere, and he had 101 carries, 24 catches. He only played 8 games. He made an incredible catch as his last play before he went out with injury. It was a highlight reel. You should all go look it up and really pay attention to his legs, what he does with them. 617 total yards, 7 TDs, 1 fumble that he lost. He drafted round 4, number 105 overall by the Giants. And
So a 3rd round pick?
He was a 4th round pick.
4th. Oh, so yeah, I would say that's probably a sleeper then.
Isn't 4th round is pretty much like 1st round for running back, though.
Go and watch the tape. I think that I talk about having him over Caleb Johnson and even entering the territory of Judkins, Travion, and Hampton.
I know. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew who he was until you came along.
You are so biased. Hindsight's 20/20, dude. I fucking nailed that one. You know, and don't be poo-poo on it.
Okay, so my sleeper was picked because of his nickname. Raheem the Rocket Sanders. He played 4 games, 27 carries, 3 catches, 113 total yards, 1 TD. He did not fumble. Very capable hands. He was undrafted. He signed by the Chargers, but then was picked up by the Browns, and that's who he played his 4 games with. was the Browns. So he's a diamond in the rough, and he's headed to great things. Might
With
even
emphasis
overtake
on the
Judkins this year.
Yeah, maybe. But you forget about what's his face, Tennessee
Dylan
running back,
Sampson.
Dylan Sampson. Yeah, forget about him.
Well, they both like to get injured, and Judkins has at least one more domestic violence in him.
Yeah, yeah. He's got potential for another one. I'll give you that. But nope, I'll take the credit on that one. I'll take a victory lap. I gotta say, I don't want to toot my own horn, but my sleepers, my rankings on running backs, they've been on point. Watch the track record. I'll still never forget about the Devin Achan, Ross. How you hated Devin Achan. You
But
hated
he
him.
went to the
Really?
only situation that would make him successful. And so now we're going to see what he's like without Mike McDaniels. He has improved as a player, so I'll give you that. Congratulations, well done. I think we might have. It's funny doing this for so long. I feel like I know who you're going to like, especially you,
Yeah.
Corbin. So there's a guy here that I think we're going to have disagreements on, which is exciting.
Okay. All right. We'll see about that. I do have a true sleeper that I don't think that a lot of people are aware of this year. It's not just, some guy that's on the radar at all. But he is rising up ranks, so we shall see. But let's get right into it, boys. We've got 5 guys to discuss today. Then we're going to rank them. Then we're going to provide our sleepers. So let's kick it off with Jeremiyah Love out of Notre Dame, 20 years old, junior coming out, a young, promising running back, a bona fide, sure thing, first-round pick. Probably could potentially go in the top 5. I definitely see him being a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. He is 6 foot flat, 212 pounds, no RAS score of note, but he did run a 4.3 640 with elite splits. He didn't need to do anything else at the combine. He just knew he would run fast as fuck, and he did just that. Last year in 12 games, he had 199 carries for 1,372 yards, 18 touchdowns. He also had 27 catches for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. The year before at Notre Dame, 16 games, 163 carries for 1,125 yards, 17 more touchdowns, 28 catches for 237 yards, and 2 more touchdowns on top of that. I mean, when you watch the tape, he is a great running back, but I think what really sets him apart is his receiving ability. I think that this guy could be a slot receiver in the NFL. He's that good. He really gives me shades of Christian McCaffrey. And everybody knows the running backs that can add PPR value are, I mean, they're paramount to your success. He could be an absolute league winner for you. The only question I have is if he's going 1-1 or 1-2, just for Fernando Mendoza. A lot of years, he's the slam dunk 101 in your fantasy drafts, and you just might see him go 101 across the board in roster wars. Ross, what's your take on Jeremiyah Love?
Take is there's no way I'm picking Fernando Mendoza before Jeremiah Love, man. It's crazy. He's very good. And I also wrote the best thing that I like about his game is the receiving ability because that does translate to being a top fantasy producer. He catches the ball with his hands, like away from his frame, like you said, like a receiver. He's not just a running back who makes catches out of the backfield. Like he's adjusting to like badly thrown balls, like catching the ball with one hand and running routes like out the slot. So yeah, very very good from that standpoint. And he's got the speed as well to make the home run plays. But what I also liked about it is the sort of tempo and the way he runs to turn it on when he needs it. So he's like sort of setting up his blockers by running patiently and then using his speed, his acceleration to sort of boost through the gap. And in general, just like moves really, really smoothly. You can see a big difference just watching these guys. Like he moves differently. You can tell straight away he's the elite prospect. Um, yeah, he's setting up defenders. He's got that sort of lateral movement, and he's got that footwork as well. He's got like a little skip. It's like a basketball gather step, which sort of helps him like put his foot in the ground and burst up field. So yeah, almost flawless prospect. Um, he faced heavy boxes as well. On like 29% of his carries, he faced heavy boxes. So teams knew he was the man to stop, but he still produced. And he's got everything like the open field elusiveness to make those big runs, those big plays, and get us those fantasy points.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Your screen was
Yeah.
frozen, and I was wondering if we were about to lose you.
No.
Yeah, that everything you guys said. This guy's amazing. Um, I'm hearing Arizona, which would be a pretty great landing spot, I think. But the one thing of all the things I was reading about him, almost 500 touches and one fumble in college. That's
Hmm.
pretty amazing. Um, I think he needs to add to his 212 frame if he wants to be a 20 ball carrier, 20 carry a game guy. He needs to maybe get a little fatter, a little size. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely top 10 pick. True, truly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I think
I
his
mean,
frame's fine. Like I think 212 is fine. Like the way he plays the game, he's more like a speed back. Now that's normally like a detrimental thing you say to someone who's like 180 pounds who can't play the position. Is he a speed back? But he's more like, and I'm not comparing the exact traits, but he's like Jameer Gibbs rather than like a David Montgomery. You know what I mean? Like he's at lightning instead of the thunder, I would say.
yeah, but I
But
do
at
see
that frame,
Tyler.
can you take on blitzers?
No, his
He's
pass
catching a
protection
pass, he doesn't need
is.
to.
Yeah. But I mean, that is something to consider. I think Tyler's point is with that frame, can he handle a 20 plus carry volume every single game? I don't think it really matters that much. Like he's still going to be a productive fantasy asset, but I do think that especially in the first year, maybe two, he's going to be splitting carries with more of that bruiser back just to lighten the workload a little bit for him. Kind of the same thing with what Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery had going. They split. It was a little bit more David Montgomery, shifted to Jameer Gibbs first year, and then Jameer Gibbs is just taken over to the point where he's the sole running back. He is going to be the only guy in Detroit. I see Love kind of in that same mold. Um, he checks all the boxes for me in terms of what you're looking for in a running back. But I will say, if you take the receiving skill set out of it, he's not the same running back prospect as like a Bijan or a Saquon, for example. He is still very, very good, but it's that receiving ability that really takes him over the top. So depending on where he goes, if teams don't utilize that receiving skill set, that could be a slight concern. I still think he's going to be a plug and play starter from day one. Um, but yeah, everything else, the speed, the elusiveness, he has surprising power, good contact balance, good vision. He did all this behind a very average offensive line at best with Notre Dame, and you still get that type of production. So yeah, I mean, he's the real deal. I think if you don't have him as your number one running back in your rankings, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. He is a great, great option, and yeah, I mean, if I'm picking 101, I'm taking him over Mendoza. That's my mentality. He's that good, and one of these running backs that we don't get every year. You got to grab him while you can.
Yeah, like I said, he's a league winner, and I do agree with you in terms of the rushing ability purely on as a rusher. If we're comparing him to prior years, I wouldn't have him number one. Like Bijan's in another territory on his own, but yeah, I'd say he's his fantasy skill set is more alluring than his NFL skill set, which is still good, and he's still going to go top 10. But yeah, like you said, I think he's like a perfect fantasy player, I would say, and going
Mm.
top 10 as well. That sort of locks in, that sort of guarantees you're going to get the volume as well. And like you said, maybe if he goes somewhere with not as exciting a play caller, he maybe won't use as a receiver. But I just think that would be complete malpractice.
Yeah, and typically, like in recent years, like maybe the last 5 years, being a pass catcher, it's just like, can they catch passes? Yes, that's it. And there's not really any level to it for me, but you can't deny that he is that good. That's got to bump him up a little bit. So I'm breaking my own rule a little bit for him. He does have the rushing potential to back it up. He is, the best pure runner in this class. But that's not saying much because there's not a lot of good running backs. But there are some of those elite guys that were top 10 NFL draft picks that I do think are a better running back in terms of just a pure rusher than he is. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. But regardless, he's going to be an elite fantasy contributor, if not this year, very, very soon. So let's move it on and talk about his teammate, Jadarian Price, also out of Notre Dame, 22-year-old junior coming out of college. He is 5'11", 203 pounds with an 8.58 RAS score. He ran a 4.49 40-yard dash with decent splits, good explosives, good shuttle, but no three cone. And you heard me say decent good. That's kind of, his game. He does everything well, but he's not elite at just one thing. Um, Last year in 12 games, he had 113 carries for 674 yards and 11 touchdowns. That's to go with what was Love's 18 touchdowns last year. So that's 29 touchdowns between their running backs rushing. He also had 6 catches for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. The year before that, he played 16 games for 120 carries, 746 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 catches for 10 yards, and 0 touchdowns. So, yeah, just a very good, savvy running back, but he's not elite at one thing. A little bit undersized. He did tear his Achilles as a freshman. It hasn't hampered him up to this point, but anytime you have an Achilles injury, that obviously puts a red flag on your radar. I like the player. I just wasn't wowed by anything that he did, and he doesn't have a ton of volume, a very large sample size to project him as, one of these top end fantasy assets that you're looking for if it's a late first or an early second round pick. What do you guys think about Jadarian Price?
I think his savviness and his sort of lack of one big thing that's noticeable is his strength. I think that's what I really like about him is his sort of vision, both at the line of scrimmage and in the open field. I think he's in general makes really good decisions. He makes them quickly as well, and he knows when to sort of stay disciplined and get north south and take what's there. And then at times he can find opportunity to bounce it to the outside, and he's got the explosiveness and elusiveness to sort of make those big plays. Like I said, he's a bit on the unknown side. So he's got 15 catches over the last 3 years. So like we just don't know if he's going to be a really good receiver. From what I've seen, there's not really a reason why he can't be like a competent receiver in the NFL. So I'm not dinging him for that necessarily. Um, and as well to show off his explosiveness, he had 450 kick return yards last year. That's on 12 returns, and 2 of them went for touchdowns. So he does have that explosiveness that you're maybe not giving him quite as much credit for. And yeah, it is difficult to sort of to analyze him. His production profile is just not good because of the raw numbers. He's just not had enough opportunities to be successful. And usually I would ding a guy for that. There might be a guy later on who's taken a while to break out, but Price, the reason he's not had opportunities is a bit different. Like he's still coming out after like his junior year. I think he had another year eligibility, but he chose to come out to the NFL, which is a good sign for what NFL teams think of him. And he doesn't have that much tread on the tire as well. So like he's 280 carries over his career. The other sort of highly drafted guy I can think of that had that little carries was Josh Jacobs, who didn't have quite a productive NFL sort of college career, but turned out to be like a bell cow back in the NFL. So yeah, I really like him from what I've seen. I think he does have the potential to be a 3 down back, and if he's picked high enough and gets the volume, I think he could take advantage of that opportunity and be a really good producer. And I think get return on that investment of, like I said, if it's a late first round pick in fantasy, I think he could. He's one of the only other guys outside of Love that I will probably be targeting here.
Fair enough.
I think he has no chance of being a 3 down back. He doesn't have the size. I don't think he's going to be able to run like a physical runner that he is in college, in the NFL. He didn't show much from the catching side, but he better show it in the NFL if he wants a job, because I do not see him as somebody who can hand the ball off and carry the ball for you. I'm probably going to end up being more of a catching back if he has that capability. But to do that, you also have to be able to pass block, which he's not good at either. So, yeah, like you said, he does everything adequately, but isn't great at just one thing. and I'm not high on him. I don't
I
think
like
he's
how
going
you
to
say
transpire.
you don't think he's a guy that you can hand the ball off to and run with. Like that's pretty damn important when it comes to running backs. But no, I
Exactly.
think I do think you're too low on him because you know the receiving skill set, like it is a small sample size, but he looked good. Like he had soft hands, like he's a reliable outlet, limited route tree. He's not getting split out wide. But it's just like, okay, from what I saw, like he looks fine, but he's got what, 10 catches the last 2 years, 15 total in his 3 seasons, I think Ross said. I think he's a little bit more of a physical runner. That's kind of his style. He does have that
Yeah.
shiftiness, so he's not just a one cut and go kind of guy. And a lot of these guys that we're going to talk about, they are that. They're just that north south, put your foot in the ground and go kind of guy. And he can make some stuff happen behind the line of scrimmage and at the second level, which I do like to see. He has a little bit of speed, but he's not a burner. I just kind of see him as more of a higher floor, lower ceiling kind of guy. And there are some other running backs in this class that have those elite traits that you look at, see them developing into something. After Jeremiyah Love, we already said it kind of dries up at running back. There's a few guys that are somewhat interesting, but I'm not wasting a first round pick on him just because, I mean, it depends on the situation. If he goes and he's the number one right off the bat, like there's going to be volume there, but I just see him as a good guy at almost everything, but he's not, he doesn't have any traits that really make you say, wow, like this guy, like it jumps off the tape. Ross, your point about having less tread on the tires is very valid. That should maybe give him another year or two as a solid fantasy contributor. But yeah, I mean, I just wasn't super impressed or wowed by anything that he did. I can see why some people have him as their running back 2 in the class. But when I'm looking to take a shot in the late second or third round on a running back, I want a guy that I think could be, an RB10 plus at some point. And I just don't know if I see it. I think he's going to be like a career RB2 at best, maybe worse, depending on the situation he goes to.
He kind of like not him, but this whole situation of describing like how he was like his college career. It reminds me of who did Roshan Johnson played behind Barkley, right? Or was it
Bijan.
Miles?
Yeah. Sorry, carry on your point.
Huh? No, Roshan Johnson.
Behind
Who did he play for?
Bijan.
Bijan.
Yep.
Roshan Johnson was behind Bijan. Miles Sanders was behind Barkley. And I remember talking to people about those guys, and they were like, "Oh, because he did this and that in behind those two, he's pretty much like was covered up because they were so good. Nobody realizes how good they were. Well, those two didn't turn into anything in the NFL, really. So I just kind of think it's the same situation here. So
Sanders had like a season to himself, so he did have like one season as a bell cow back, and then Roshan Johnson was basically new to the position. I think he was like a quarterback. So I see both of these guys differently to Price. I think Price is a real NFL running back. He's just not had the opportunity to show you yet, and that's why people are hesitant. That's why he's not going to be a first rounder, or maybe even a second rounder. But
I wasn't saying like their abilities are the same. I was saying like just the talk about them
the
being
narrative
behind the really, really great running back kind of shadow.
I will say that NFL GMs do love those guys that they can project. Those guys with great athleticism, which he has, with the less tread on their tires. So a lot of Ross's points, they're kind of making me, come around a little bit more on Jadarian Price. Yeah, I mean, I do like him. I just think that, you're really drafting on potential, and it depends on what situation you go to. After Jeremiyah Love, it really depends on landing spot for all of these guys. I'd say 3 of the 5 guys we talk about today, they're very interchangeable for me, and Jadarian Price is one of those. Yeah, it really just depends on where he goes. But I could see NFL GMs craving that athletic profile and that potential. They hope to tap into it and really just kind of blow him up and get some value as a late second, early third round pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah, and my final point would be that this 2026 class isn't great, and he's definitely been elevated because of that, both at running back and at other positions. So in a fantasy world, you're thinking late first, depending on landing spot, it might change completely. Whereas normally he's like a bona fide second round pick, and that's a good sort of bet, a good swing to have. Whereas you maybe invest in a little bit more. And like you said, some people are not not happy with the unknown portion of it. But to me, I'd rather him than a lot of other guys in the class that we'll talk about later on that I know they're shite. You know what I mean? We don't know
Yeah.
Price is bad yet, but I know other guys aren't good.
Hmm. Yeah. No, Ross, you definitely made some good points because I was a little bit more just like, he doesn't do anything. But like with the potential, I see what you mean. No, I mean, I think that he definitely could be the second running back taken in the NFL draft, but there's some other guys that do have those elite traits that you look for. Um, and we'll talk about one of them right now. It's Jonah Coleman coming out of Washington. He's 22 years old, senior coming out. He played his first 2 years at Arizona before transferring to Washington. Played 2 seasons there. He is 5'8", 220 pounds, so that is a stocky guy. No res score. He just did the bench press. He got 22 reps up, which is very nice for a running back. Last year in 12 games, he had 156 carries for 758 yards, 15 touchdowns. He also had 31 catches for 354 yards and 2 touchdowns. In 2024, in 13 games, he had 193 carries for 1,053 yards and 10 touchdowns to go with it. He also tagged on 23 catches for 177 yards and 0 touchdowns. He kind of reminds me a lot of Doug Martin, just a very small, short, powerful running back, really good contact balance, only 1 fumble with almost 400 touches. And he had really good production despite having a very, very, I'll just say, poor offensive line with Washington. I mean, they have one of the worst offensive lines in the country. So I like this guy a lot. I think that, unlike Jadarian Price, like he is very, very good making contact and falling forward. And he gets, I don't have the stat right in front of me, but he does have a lot of yards after contact as well. I see him as a better between the tackles running back, and he does have the pass catching skill set to go with it.
Yeah, I really like Coleman as well. I think he's reliable. It would be the first thing I would say about him. He's a reliable three down back. I don't think he's particularly splashy or explosive like on the surface, but I think he reads his blocks really well, and he can make guys miss with like subtle movements. So he's not necessarily juking someone out, but it's like the subtle jukes, and the guys are just like slipping off him. Um, and I think he's a really disciplined runner as well. So he'll find the right hole and he'll maximise his blocking, which wasn't great. But I think he's also creative enough to make yardage on his own. I love how he gets skinny through the hole, and stays close to his lineman, and he's almost like hiding behind them, because he's 5'8", I think it is. So yeah, I think as a pure runner, I think he's really good, and he's a good receiver as well. He's a really good receiver out of the backfield. You see him extending to high point balls, badly thrown balls, and yeah, he make use of the open space in the open field. I wish he was like a little bit faster. He had a little bit more long speed, because those like 15-yard carries would turn into like 50-yard touchdowns. And I think that's probably why he's not thought of higher, and he's not like a higher tier prospect. Um, yeah, so he's not really fast, but I feel like he's got a high floor for a running back, and I think he's going to stick around in the NFL for a while. Like he's a good pass protector. I think he'll develop even more. He's a good red zone back as well, and I think that's the kind of thing that coaches will just absolutely love. In my comparison, I think Doug Martin's a nice one, like in terms of the build, definitely. I seen Blake Corum,
Mm-hmm.
who I know you hated, Corbin, but if Coleman was to go somewhere like Seattle, where he's the clear running back one, he's going to get all the carries, he's slotted in. I think he's going to be really, really good, and he's going to get a really good return on your investment for like a late first, early second round pick, wherever he's going in fantasy. If he was to go somewhere and be like a backup, and I think he'll be a really good backup for a number of years in the NFL, but in terms of fantasy, I'm not sure he's got that sort of the splashiness that maybe an
Mm-hmm.
NFL coach will want to put him in the game. He's just more that solid third down guy who'll come in and maybe take carries away from a lightning fast explosive guy. But yeah, so I think he'll be an NFL backup as a minimum, but I think he can really thrive in the right situation. I think he's a really, really nice player.
Yeah, Mike Davis is another comp that I kind of like. Just, the goal line guy, short yardage guy. But, he just that one cut and go kind of guy. He doesn't have that lateral shiftiness. He doesn't have that top end speed to really take the top off and have an 80-plus yard touchdown, anything like that. But very, very good in short yardage and goal line situations, which I do think you'll see some pretty immediate returns in terms of a fantasy football production with this guy.
Yeah, you guys took both of my. Well, I had Corum as a comp, but I actually like Doug Martin better. Good call. Yay. Um, yeah, like the low center of gravity for him, like his balance is pretty exceptional, and he's got great vision when to see the hole, hit the hole, run through the hole. What running backs are supposed to do. And it's nice to see. He is a dual threat. I like that. And again, here's a guy who had a lot of carries in the college ranks and had one fumble. So he is reliable with that. You really like to have a running back who doesn't drop the ball and give it to the other team. It would be nice if the Patriots understood that. But
Well, they got a Hall of Famer just waiting in the wings, ready to take over.
well, they do. So that's nice. He doesn't fumble the ball either. So no.
Yeah, he's very comparable to Jadarian Price for me. I just think that he has shown us more and he is better between the tackles. The one thing that makes me kind of go back and forth between him and Jadarian Price is Jadarian Price has that shiftiness to make guys miss at the second level. But when it comes to Jonah Coleman, he has great vision behind the line of scrimmage. When he sees the gap, he is a one cut and go kind of guy. He's not making any moves at that second level to, pop off for a 20-plus yard carry. He's likely getting hit by a safety or a linebacker, and he'll run right through him and maybe get a couple more yards, but he's going down. So I would say he has a higher floor than Jadarian Price, but a lower ceiling than Jadarian Price. Typically, I like these high ceiling guys when it comes to these late round running backs. But again, just kind of depends on the situation, the landing spot for me. Because he can be a bell cow running back, that 3-down player. He has the pass catching ability too. So there's a lot to like about him, but he just doesn't have that top end speed, the shiftiness, the home run ability you'd like to see. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for Jonah Coleman. Just a nice bruiser for you, a goal line guy. Not the most potential in the class. But let's move on to Emmett Johnson, coming out of Nebraska. He's 22 years old, a junior coming out. He is 5'9", 202 pounds. Terrible RAS score. Wouldn't say terrible, but not good. A 5.56. He ran a 4.56 40-yard dash. Decent splits. Good explosive scores. Very average agility testing. In 2025, in 12 games, he had 251 carries for 1,451 yards and 12 touchdowns. He also had 46 catches for 370 yards and 3 touchdowns to go along with that. 2024, he played 13 games, 117 carries for 598 yards and 1 touchdown. He also had 39 catches for 286 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is kind of a unique prospect, the most unique out of the 5 guys we're really discussing. He's very, very elusive. Good vision behind the line of scrimmage. He's making people miss in the backfield. But when he gets to the second level, that's where you kind of see him fall apart. He's the one guy who's just more of the, he's that shifty running back, but there's not a lot of power to his game. So he is very good in the backfield. It's when he gets to that second level where you're actually gaining yardage where I see his game kind of fall apart a little bit.
Yeah, the number one thing I wrote for him was that he's shifty. So he's a shifty player, forces a lot of missed tackles. But I think he's at his best when he's being more decisive. He's like a one cut and go runner. Like sometimes he could shift too much behind the line of scrimmage when he can't really see it. Um, and the issues really come when he's stopping his feet in those situations, and the explosiveness sort of disappears. Because I think he's overall a pretty average athlete, and that's maybe what speaks to like the second level ability as well. Um, but the big thing, like in his profile, is 92 catches over the last 2 years, and that's what he's going to bring at the next level. I don't think he's like a true difference maker in the passing game, like we talked about with Jeremiyah Love. He's more of a out the backfield receiver, than running like proper routes. But the shiftiness, the quickness, that helps him get open, and yeah, I think he can definitely contribute as a pass catcher. But I'm not a big fan of him. Like I don't think he's really good after contact. He's not physical at all. He's more of an upright runner, and he's looking to like juke you out more than sort
Hmm.
of ride a tackle. Which is fine if you're elusive, but I think it just sort of limits him to that rotational sort of third down pass catching back rather than potentially getting more volume for fantasy purposes. Um, also noticed that 51% of his yards came against light boxes as well. And so he's sort of taken advantage of that. And then when it comes to the NFL, when he's facing real defenses, is he going to need that a little bit more power, a little bit more savviness to get him by rather than the shiftiness and hitting the hole? Um, and I was also thinking in terms of his profile, like who are the pass catching backs recently that have been sort of successful for NFL purposes? And I'm thinking like Kenneth Gainwell or like maybe Rashad White are like your best case scenarios. Um, so if that's his ceiling, then I'm not particularly interested. I just don't think he's as good a good enough runner, um, from my perspective to be a successful fantasy pick.
Yeah, he's not gonna be. Yeah, he'll definitely like not be a workhorse back or you know short yardage guy. But if he finds himself in a good committee, he can definitely produce. Um, Production's his game. He produces more than you'd think he would, and his agility, of course, is great. I once was a running back in my 1 year of playing football, and they wouldn't let me be. Uh, well, sorry, I wasn't the running back. I wanted to be the running back. They wouldn't let me be the running back because they said that I was too slow. But what they did not realize was I had amazing agility, and that's how this guy is. He might not be the fastest, but agile like nobody's business, and the fucking true American right there. Like
I don't think he's agile. I mean, the testing numbers, like the thing with agility is it's like change of direction. I think he's more explosive. And, the testing kind of confirms that because he does have a really good acceleration, that ability to just start, stop. He's good with that. The elusiveness is great and everything, but he just doesn't have the speed to match with it. If he had speed and you can marry that with his elusiveness, like I think you got a pretty good player. He just doesn't have that top end speed to really pull away, which is why you can make these guys miss in the backfield. But when he gets to the next level, he's done. He's kind of more of an all or nothing type running back. I think if he goes to a situation that can put him out in space, whether that's a swing pass, he can make a guy miss, take it 10 yards until inevitably the safety or linebacker comes and, cleans up the play. But yeah, he's not a true bell cow back. I think he's best in third down situations. Use him on screens, swing passes, maybe in a zone blocking scheme where he can make a few more decisions because I do think he has good vision and patience behind the line of scrimmage. But he's not a true between the tackles runner, and I don't think he ever will be. Which, yeah, I mean, very low. I'd say it's a very low floor. He could be essentially worthless in terms of fantasy football. If he goes to the right situation, I could see it working out, but I think there's some other guys I'd rather take a shot on.
Yeah, one thing as well that I'm surprised you didn't mention, Tyler, he's a two-way player in high school. You love your
Oh
two-way
my
players.
god,
I said, he was a
He,
dual threat.
that's fucking embarrassing, Tyler.
he's a safety. He was a safety in high school.
Oh, two
So
way.
there you
Oh,
go.
yeah, yeah.
which
How
doesn't
did you
match
miss
his
it?
physicality whatsoever. I don't know what they're up to down there on
So
offense, but yeah,
that was old Tyler. This is new Tyler without like one wisdom tooth. So I've changed
you've lost your wisdom.
apparently.
Yep. All right, I think this is the last guy we've got for today until we rank and put in our sleepers. It's Mike Washington Jr. coming out of Arkansas. Ross, I saw you perk up a little bit for this guy. Any reason why?
Yeah, I'm just adjusting my seat position.
Okay,
I just
okay.
adjust.
22 years old, senior coming out of college. He started off his college career at Buffalo. He played 3 seasons there. Last year, or 2 years ago, 2024, he was at New Mexico State. He finished at Arkansas, so 5 years in college. And I see a lot. This running back class is a lot older, and I think you're going to start to see that because running backs aren't paid as well in the NFL, and you can get that NIL money in college. So probably going to be a trend in future years. But he's 6 foot tall, 223 pounds. He had a 9.88 RAS score with a 4.3 40-yard dash. Elite splits, elite explosives, great agility. Seems like he's got it all. For someone who's 6 foot, 223 pounds, I mean, to run a 4.33 is insane. Last year at Arkansas, in 12 games, he had 167 carries for 1,070 yards and 8 touchdowns. He also had 28 catches for 226 yards and 1 touchdown receiving. At New Mexico State in 2024, he played in 12 games, 157 carries for 725 yards with 8 touchdowns, also 9 catches for 74 yards and a touchdown. This is a guy that has the elite traits that I'm talking about. It's that size speed combo. I think that really raises his ceiling, and he has the potential for those explosive plays. He does have the physicality to marry with that speed too. So this is a guy that I'm like, okay, I can see myself taking a shot on this guy in the second, early third round. Depending on the situation, but I think that he's got a lot of potential. Biggest red flag with him: 10 fumbles in his career within the last 3 seasons. That's like, and bad pass protection too. Those are really the biggest knocks I have on him. But when I'm looking at these late round, mid round guys, I'm looking for traits. He's got it. There's not a lot of running backs that are 220 that can run a 4.3.
Yeah, he's a 6'1", 223 pound speed back.
So what?
6'1", 223 pound speed back. He runs very fast. But he's a
Is that like a tranny term? Like
speed back.
one, like sex one, like. Sorry.
Don't be
How long
trying
have
to
we been doing
ridicule
this?
accents on here, Mr. Canada. How about we
Yes,
keep on
I
going,
is. He's a
I'm
speed
funny.
back. He's a speed back, just over 1 inch over tall speed back. When he hits open space, like he's gone. But I think he does have a little bit of shiftiness about him to like avoid tackles. Um, and he's also like a good receiver out the backfield. I think that's a really underrated aspect of his game. Like when they get him on screens, he's got a big runway, and just get him in the open field, and he's gone. Um, I think he got better as the season went on as well. Early on, he was sort of playing at one speed, so just running into the back of the lineman and not waiting on blocks to develop. But some of his best runs came like towards the end of the season against a good Texas defense. And he was able to press the line of scrimmage, create space for the big runs, and then, yeah, produce. Um, and I think as a speed back, he plays a little bit smaller than you'd expect from like a 223 pound guy. I didn't see as much power as I would like. Um, and it's maybe not power, it's maybe like violence, I suppose, around the line of scrimmage. So I wanted
Turn
to
on
see
the
him
Texas
really.
tape. Watch the
Was that?
Texas tape. Watch the Texas tape. He puts
I,
motherfuckers
I
in their
didn't see it
bed.
enough. I didn't see it enough. And yeah, so that just inherently a dislike, something about that. But you're right in terms of his traits and where he fits in. Like I could overlook some of that in this class because he does bring something. He does have that trump card. He does have that thing you can profile as. And like it's going to be like a change of pace back between the 20s runner where you're hoping he sort of breaks for a big play. He's probably not going to be trusted in the red zone because of his fumble, like generationally bad fumbler. He's not a good pass protector either. And so I think right away in the NFL, he's going to have to break off big runs to produce for fantasy, which is fine. Like they said, you're taking that bet. Um, and yeah, the biggest other question mark is why, if he's a 223-pound guy who runs 4.3, wasn't he as productive until his final year, until his senior year? So that's another sort of question I have around that. And then finally, like my NFL comp, I was thinking of guys who are that size and run that fast was Latavius Murray.
Dude,
I thought,
I literally looked it up right now because I thought of the comp. I have them compared right now, and they're the exact same.
yeah,
I
I
literally have
think
it pulled right up.
I really like Murray as a player as well. He's one of my favourite sort of fantasy guys who you always bet. You think this is the year he breaks out. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy, and he stuck around in the NFL for a very, very long time. So yeah, I think they're pretty much the same build and
Yep.
size and speed and stuff like that. So.
Yep. Nope. I literally was pulling up the RAS comparison between the two, and they're almost identical. Washington had a little bit less on the bench. He had a better vertical than Latavius Murray, but a 9.93 for Murray to a 9.88 with Mike Washington. So that's a spot on comp.
Yeah, like wow. First of all, that's a new term I've never heard. He is
Feedback?
male. He's only had one sex his entire life. It's male, so that's good. Like, I mean, each to their own, right? Do what you want to do, but
You have
also
kids.
I have
know
to
what
I
sex
have
is.
to I have to just correct Ross. This is roster wars. There's no politics, so you cannot bring up Trump. Okay, but yeah, as a running back, as a running back to be successful in the NFL, I'd say you need to be able to pass protect pretty much for the most part. And you need to be able to hold the ball unless your name is Ramondre Stevenson and somehow you can just, I don't know, suck dick and keep playing. But this guy, I think you need to hold the ball, son. You need to hold on to the ball. This is the guy that you would give him the ball and tell him to walk around campus, and he would be in major shit if anybody was able to knock that ball out of his hand. And you guys are probably too young to know what I'm referencing. I just realized it.
No, but I mean, that's a pretty common thing.
Wow.
Even in high school, elementary, middle school, they would have you do that. Walk around and have people try and punch it out and hold on to it.
Yeah, but that's from like one of the greatest football movies ever made.
It's not in Remember the Titans or Waterboy.
I know. It's in the program.
Draft Day? Is it from
Program.
Draft Day?
The
No, I was gonna say, I
program.
haven't seen it in Draft Day.
The program.
Nope, haven't seen it.
You definitely should go watch it. One of the
Not as good as Draft Day.
best football movies you'll ever watch.
Have you seen Draft Day?
Yes.
I watch it every year. Now's the time. Get it on, guys. It's a feel-good movie. Get you hyped for the draft.
Draft Day is actually fucking awesome. I like it.
I get emotional, man. He's a great performance from your man Vontae Mack. He's a wonderful actor.
Yeah.
No, I mean, in terms of, his ability with the ball in his hands, he's really checking all the boxes. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the power. I push back on that, Ross. Like, turn on that Texas tape, you'll see he's putting guys on the back. But he is a speed back. He's not a power back. That's not his game, but he is a good finisher. He's consistently picking up more yards even after he's going down. He keeps churning those legs. He's got big play potential. He led the SEC with 16 plays of over 20-plus yards. Good lateral agility. He's capable as a pass catcher. But, yeah, the negatives are the fumbles. His pass protection is going to, probably take him off the field in third down situations. His vision's just average. He's a little slow to react hitting those holes. He's not the most elusive guy. I would kind of lump him in the category of a one-cut-and-go kind of dude. Probably better in a gap power scheme where it's just like, here's the hole, go hit it. You don't need to make any decisions. So depending on what scheme he plays in, he can be very, very successful. Um, Obviously we have the Latavius Murray comp, and he had maybe 1 or 2 years of actual solid fantasy contribution, but he was in the league for a long, long time. And it's because that skill set is rare. Teams are going to covet that and see what he has on a rookie deal where you get him for 4 years and then, let him move on elsewhere. So he could be a guy that really gives you 2, 3, maybe 4 years of solid production on your fantasy team. And that's what I'm looking for when I'm talking about these, second, third, mid-round kind of guys in my fantasy football draft.
Yeah, landing spot's a big one for all these guys. Like, it's probably bore myself by saying it like every single time, but usually I just stack my board by landing spot and then make adjustments from there. Or not landing spot, but draft capital, and then
Mm-hmm.
make adjustments from there. So if he goes to the Seahawks, it's wheels up. He's a first round pick probably if he goes to somewhere like the Seahawks. But yeah, I like him as a player, but I don't think I'm going to be as high on him as other people, and I don't think I'm going to be drafting a lot of them. Um, just because I think I just prefer solid guys than potential guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I could see him go to the Vikings. That's a destination that's pretty slept on. Also, 49ers too. Like, I mean, they run more of like that kind of zone scheme, but I think he'd be a good complement with CMC. I mean, there's a lot of places that could take him, and he would be very, very productive. A solid option.
Isaac
Definitely somebody
Garendo,
that.
another comp. I like a guy over 6 foot who ran really really quick. So there you go. Shanahan likes himself a Mike Washington style back.
Mhm. Yeah, I can see it. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our 5 guys that we're covering today. So let's rank them and then get into our sleepers. Ross. All right. Let's see how you projected that maybe we would have a little bit of beef here. So let's see what you got, and I'm sure you'll be able to tell by my reaction if I think that you're Looney Tunes.
So Love is number one, and then it would be a tier break, a definite tier break there. I
Yes.
really like Price as number two. I'd like to say a tier break there, and then I'm a Coleman fan, then Mike Washington, and then Emmett Johnson. Emmett Johnson's playing a tier of his own at the bottom.
Yep.
But yeah,
Okay. What
So
about you, Tyler?
you had Emmett Johnson last there?
I did. You sound like you disagree.
You'll see. So I have Jeremiah Love, and then I have Emmett Johnson, then Jonah Coleman, and then Price, and then Washington.
So you have Emmett Johnson number 2.
I do.
Why?
Because I like him. Does it matter? I like
I
him,
think it's the
okay?
name. I mean, he's got a sick name, and I think that's the only reason
He
why you
holds
put
the
him.
ball. He's
His
reliable.
NFL comp is
He does
Tyler
He's
Coney.
everything.
not
You not
reliable.
heard?
He is reliable.
High school level Tyler Coney. You know.
He's reliable to me. You'll see.
All right.
You'll
He's
see.
got that.
Maybe
He's
I'm
got
wrong,
that Tyler agility. I
but
think you
maybe
are
I'm
wrong.
right. I'm
I think
probably
you're way off on
completely,
that.
totally right.
No, I mean, for me, there's tier 1, Jeremiah Love. Then we've got 3 guys at tier 2. Then we got Emmett Johnson, who I would take probably 5 or 6 other running backs over. Big tier break. So I'd say Love is in a tier of his own. I've got Mike Washington, then Jonah Coleman, then Jadarian Price. Those 3 are all kind of lumped together for me. I might. It's landing spot dependent. Like, I thought about switching Jonah Coleman and Jadarian Price, but I just think that Jonah Coleman's ceiling is or his floor is a little bit higher than Jadarian Price, and I don't think either of them are really going to be an elite fantasy contributor. But when it comes to Mike Washington, he's the guy that I can actually see being an RB1. It might be a brief stint, but I could see him being an RB1 and then leveling off to RB2, 3. I just don't see Coleman or Jadarian Price hitting that RB1 level at any point in their career. I could be wrong. Ross, your point about the tread And not having that sample size, I saw that as more of a negative at first, but I think I'm coming around on that a bit more. Those three guys are kind of interchangeable for me. Emmett Johnson, nothing. Doesn't matter. I'm not drafting him. I don't like him. There's a lot of other guys I would take
You
over
don't
him
know
in
who
this
my
class.
comp to Emmett Johnson is?
Barry Sanders.
James White.
There's no such thing as a comp to Barry Sanders. Come on, get a life.
Good.
LaShawn McCoy.
Dude, no
Yeah,
fucking way.
he has that potential to
No, he
be
does not.
LaShawn McCoy. So he will definitely outperform your thoughts. He'll probably outperform his draft position. And
Yeah, what
you,
good does it do if he's dancing in the backfield, makes three guys miss, and then he gets tackled for a yard loss? Or if he makes three guys miss and then he just gets hit by the defensive lineman and just goes down for a gain of 1 yard?
at least he knows how to dance.
Okay, well, this is football. This ain't tap dancing.
Anyway, I have my picks. They're usually right.
No, they're not.
90% of the time, they're right.
You took Caleb Johnson. What?
Last.
Fourth, third?
Last.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Right. Well, so did I. So
I hated Caleb Johnson last year. We could go back, rewind the tape. I thought he was horrible.
You drafted him.
All right, I rescind that.
I traded for him in the hopes of retrading. And then my retrade got negated by a politician named Nick.
All right, guys. Well, we're a little over an hour here, but we do want to dive in on some of our sleepers. Sounds like it's going to be 6 or worse for Tyler, but I've got a guy that I would put over Emmett Johnson at least, and he's right up there with Price, Coleman, in Washington for me. But Ross, why don't you kick it off? Let's see who your sleeper is this year. Is this the guy that you said I would be pushing back a little bit?
Maybe. I thought I didn't think you'd like Coleman, to be honest, because my comp was Blake Corum, and I know you really didn't like Blake Corum. But maybe it's just because you went to Michigan, you didn't like Blake Corum. So there you go. But yeah, my sleeper is a guy who's, I don't know. I've got two guys. I've got one that's a really high ceiling and one that's a really high floor. So I'm going to go for the guy with a really high floor, and it's Katron Allen out of Penn State. Um, so like I said, he's to be honest, the number one thing I like about him is his nickname. He's called Fat Man. So that's a nickname given to him by his mum when he was young, because he's a big baby. He's called Fat Man. To be honest, he plays like it as well. Like he's got absolutely everything as a running back except athleticism and explosiveness, which are pretty important. But he doesn't have any testing. Like he's got no athleticism score, probably because he's slow. But he's got everything else. He's got good vision. He's patient to set up blocks. I think he's a really good decision maker. He makes the right decisions, and is a proper power back who runs violently, breaks tackles, has great contact balance, and he just doesn't go down easily. Like he maximizes yardage on every single carry. He's also very experienced, 4-year starter since a true freshman and rotation. Um, but he's had a lot of carries against good competition as well, and including playoff experience. And I think that's maybe speaking more to like having more of the intangibles than the athleticism kind of thing. And just the more I watch, the more I like of him. And I think he's going to be coveted by NFL coaches for his high floor because of everything he does well rather than his deficiencies. And that's why I'm trying to look at guys. I'm trying to look at guys where can they win rather than what don't they do well. And I think Allen is a guy I really like the style he plays in, and I think he's going to have a high floor in the NFL, and he's going to find a job somewhere. And he's not been talked about as much because he's not juicy, he's not explosive, he's not jumping off the screen, I suppose.
Yeah. I think that to sum him up, he's really a power back. He's got good vision. He's not going to produce much in the passing game at all. With some of these other guys we've talked about that are similar, they at least prove capable, and I just didn't see that in his game. I like him, but I just think, why not just put like a big 250-pound linebacker to just hit the hole hard? Because that's really all he does. He just hits it hard, and he's not breaking away for a home run or anything. I think his ceiling is really like a goal line short yardage kind of guy. So I agree with your take on high floor but low ceiling.
I think you're doing him a disservice. He's got more about him than just running straight into the line. I think he's got more nuance and more of the
He does
intangible
have this.
stuff. Is literally like if he was honestly, see if you mash him and Nicholas Singleton together, you get like the perfect running back. But
Yeah, I don't
one
like
one
Nick
can play
Singleton.
football and one can't. Singleton can't
Hmm.
play football, but he's fast.
No, I'll take Katron Allen over Singleton. I'll give you that. I mean, he's
Fair.
not off my board, but in other draft classes, he would be.
I'll take him. No worries. I'll take him. I'll draft him.
Like, there was a guy out of UCF, I think, who went to the Vikings who was very comparable. He had like 2,000 yards rushing like 3 years ago. Do you remember who? Dwayne McBride, I think. Isn't that it?
Oh yeah, yeah. UAB
I
was he
think he's
not?
a lot. What'd you say?
Was he not? University of Alabama.
Oh,
Fucking
UAB. Yeah, he was. Yep. I knew it was something like that. The green and gold is kind of what threw me off. But yeah, he reminds me a lot of UAB, which I liked a lot. Or Dwayne McBride, I liked him a lot coming out of college, and then I think it was 7th round or undrafted. Hasn't done shit. But he's a little bigger than Dwayne McBride, also.
and played at a higher level for 4 years and racked up the yardage. So yeah.
Okay. Good sleeper, Ross. What about you, Tyler? Who are you taking this year?
For a second
Is
there,
he
I
Canadian?
thought Ross was comping Caleb Johnson. Yeah, I'm gonna take Nicholas Singleton.
Oh my god.
I couldn't find any Canadians, so. But yeah, 2024, Nicholas Singleton was 3 down back, pretty awesome. 2025, yeah, he faltered, and kind of, but he is a powerful, powerful man. Broke the Penn State record with a squad of over 650, and he is what you would call a load to bring down. He started off with a little bit of a fumble issue in his first years of college, but he had 0 last year. He does have a little bit of a history of nagging injuries that could be why he slowed down in 2025. But I like him. You guys hate him, so he must be great. So I'm not a stats guy to rattle off all the stats, but I mean, I could if you want, or you can look it up. Your choice.
I think he was a really good athlete early on in his career, and that's helped him get good yardage and not develop into an actual running back. Like he's relied so much on his athleticism that he's not actually developed tools to be a real running back, in my opinion. But
That's
yeah,
why
he's
he
a
got that
highly
ceiling.
recruited guy, highly touted, and like he's had that big reputation. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be a good at the next level. But maybe
He's a
I'm wrong.
guy that was very highly touted in Debbie leagues, but I feel like so many people have just soured on him. And I feel like he got worse the longer he stayed in college. If his speed is his most redeeming quality, he's not even elite with it. I don't have the testing numbers or stats or anything like that pulled up, but no, I mean, I don't even think I would draft him. I would take Katron Allen over Nick Singleton for sure. Just very middle of the road. I don't even know what to think about him. I'm just kind of moving on to other guys that have more elite traits. Because if you're talking about this point, I mean, we're talking 3rd round at best, probably 4th, 5th round. Yeah, you can take a dart throw on guys. And like the guy that I'm talking about here, Ross, real quick, before I say, who was your high ceiling bet guy?
Demond Claiborne.
Okay, no, so we're different here. I've got Adam Randall out of Clemson.
Okay.
Sorry,
21 years old, senior.
what did you say?
Adam Randall out of Clemson. Yeah, the 21-year-old senior. He's a converted wide receiver. Get this, he's 6'2", 232 pounds. So we're talking Latavius Murray. Like, this is a guy that's like him. He had a 9.44 RAS, ran a 4.540, good splits, great explosives. Poor shuttle score though. 814 yards for 10 touchdowns last year. He had 36 catches for 254 yards and 3 touchdowns. 2024, 4 carries, 16 catches, kind of just a one-hit wonder, but he is a converted receiver, keep in mind. This was his first year as a full-time running back. So he is very, very raw, just that 1 year of experience. He's more of a project running back. He's a guy that you're going to stash and, hope that he develops under the running backs coach. Maybe he gets some looks with injury. But again, I'm looking for those elite traits. And he has the size-speed combo, just a true north-south running back. He's one cut and he's gone. There's just a lot of things that I like about him. Very patient. For somebody at his size, 6'2", 230 pounds, he's running a 4.5. But with that size, he actually keeps his pad level low, keeps churning through, gaining extra yards after contact. And you could really see him develop as a running back last year. He started a little slower, but if you keep watching the games, you just see him getting better and better as time goes on. Very high character guy too, a multi-time captain. He's got kick return potential too. Biggest cons against him is pass protection's ass. As a converted receiver, he doesn't really he's not as good of a pass catcher as you would expect. There's running backs like, with Jeremiyah Love, for example, he's a better wide receiver day one. He's not the most elusive, agile kind of guy. He's a one cut and go runner, but that isn't always necessarily a bad thing. It's just a different style, but that's not how he wins. It's with his speed and power.
Yeah, I think there's not a lot of guys in this class that you would take a flyer on personally. There's not a lot of like guys with a trait that you can look at and say that could be successful in the NFL. But yeah, like I said, the size and speed is an intriguing combination, and I'm sure there's going to be guys that talk themselves into saying I can fix him, I could develop this guy. And it's similar to Jadarian Price, and it's just unknown. Like he's just not had enough experience in college to develop. And so is he going to develop in the NFL? And if he does, like that, like I said, size and speed is could be very successful.
I've still got some things to work out, but honestly, like, he might be my RB5 in this class, right below Price and Coleman and Washington. Definitely ahead of Emmett Johnson, I can tell you that right now. I mean, he's got like the size, speed that's comparable to Derrick Henry. I'm not saying he's going to be Derrick Henry, but on the other hand, like, he also kind of reminds me of Cordero Patterson, so not as sexy of a comp, but taller, speedy guy, converted wide receiver. Obviously still had some solid fantasy contributions and, his later years once teams finally figured out how to use him, like when Cordero Patterson went to the Falcons. But yeah, I mean, if you're taking like a 4th or 5th round flyer on a guy, if he's giving you RB2 numbers, 1, 2, maybe 3 years, that's a hit. And that's what I'm looking for with a guy like that. So keep an eye on Adam Randall. He's not as on the radar. I know, like, with Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, those are some sexier names. You might not have even heard of Adam Randall before, but he's definitely a guy that I'm going to be seeing where he lands. Even if I don't get him in roster wars, I'll tell you right now, he's my 5th round pick at least in every other draft that I'm in.
Ross, I also had Claiborne as my other guy.
Nice. I really like Claiborne. I think he's a small guy. He's small, and so he's going to be labelled a speed back. He's small and fast, but I think he's got a little bit more contact balance and power through contact than advertised. And I think he's another sort of red zone reliable guy, but he's got that extra little bit of speed and burst. So I like Claiborne. Probably going to be a later round pick. Probably not going to go to a good situation where he's going to get volume, but I'm sure he could find his way there eventually. So there's a bonus one for you guys.
Yeah, I like Claiborne too. I kind of put him in that same tier as Adam Randall. And like Le'Veon Moss out of Wake Forest, he's another really good one. Yeah, but when we're talking that level, I mean, I would take him like 4th, 5th round. And not even specific to roster wars. I mean, that might be a little later just because we have a 7-round draft, but yeah, not the sexiest group of running backs, that's for sure. I do think that a lot of these guys are going to get pushed up, but if you drop them in any other draft class, it's not good. And we might be talking these guys up, just because there's nothing to compare it to. Jeremiyah Love is in a tier of his own, no questions asked, and then everything else everybody has something left to be desired. I don't think there's anybody that's worth a second-round pick in the NFL draft. You could almost argue there's nobody that's worth a third-round pick in the NFL draft. But inevitably, some of these guys are going to get pushed up boards just because of the scarcity in this draft for fantasy football. So take a look at the tape, make your own opinions on these guys, and draft accordingly. But I'll tell you, based on what I saw, it's not a year to need a running back in the draft.
Take your wide receivers, take your tight ends, take your defensive players. Definitely, I'm in agreement. I think a lot of these guys who I like some aspects of their game, they've definitely got limitations, and so it's not going to be. I'm not going to like it at the price this year, to be honest. That's what I'm going to say.
Nope. Anybody, if you need a running back, you're going to be reaching. That's what it comes down to, and you just might have to do it. But it is what it is. You heard it here first. You got our take on these guys. Make your own opinions and draft accordingly. That's all I can say, without giving too much away, I guess, on my strategy.
And just remember, Emmett Johnson broke records in college.
Nice. We'll see how that pans out for him. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thanks again for tuning in. We will be back next year with the 2027 class, and that, from what I've been seeing, it's going to be a pretty damn good one. We got a lot to look forward to next year. But we've got the draft in, 4 sleeps from now, so it's almost Christmas time for me. I cannot wait. It's going to be interesting. But thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.